Something has happened with Path of Titans. The other day, on Wednesday, the developer of the game went to chats and spoke a lot about the game and what he wished could be done better. So let's talk about that and take a deep dive into everything. It's very insightful and very important information. We need to talk about what happened, because on the 6th of September, Matt, one of the lead developers for the game, went to the backer chat to explain what's going on with the game. And this came from numerous conversations about why the game's been very silent lately, and a lot of people just overall being kind of disappointed with that. This was even before my video went up on Wednesday, so hopefully my video hasn't caused this discussion, because I do apologize if it did, but I will also say thank you to whoever started this, because essentially Matt's first response was to this message, which was saying this: I know they are preparing something huge and we will probably get very surprised once we know, but giving your player base ideas or some information is always a good practice. And Matt responded with just a simple one: I'm working on it. Followed with, I'm not happy with the current dev blog / patch release schedule, and something that we have been working hard at improving every day, which seems to point at the current scheduling of updates and the way dev blogs are done at the moment for the game. It's something that Matt has said he wants to change, and it's something that the developers of the game seem to be working towards a change for that. He even mentioned that the state of the public test branch is not in a good state. Essentially, it's on a patch version of the game which is worse and older than the current patch on the live branch, and that technically, it hasn't been updated in over 2 months now. He said, I would really like to get the public test branch updated with a new patch, but there is some blockers I'm trying to sort before we do that, indicating that there is a potential public test branch update waiting to go up, but there are stuff blocking it, which could be balance problems, it could be hotfixes, it could be server issues, and the idea there is once that's fixed, then they will work on addressing these problems on the public test branch and releasing a new update. But that is a good sign for the public test branch anyways. It means that there is an update brewing for it. We'll have to wait and see when it comes. Matt also talks about the patch upload process and gives us quite a bit of insight to it, and how it's kind of led to some problems with pushing out new updates. For example, hotfixes only target a limited scope of bugs, and it's not possible to add a new dinosaur or anything like that currently in a hotfix, which is obviously something that they're working on fixing, because there's a lot of underlying work to expand that to be able to patch most of the game through just a hotfix, which is also very important, because they did mention that the dream is to avoid the idea that we would have to wait months for the next patch to come, like what we're doing right now, because a hotfix came out, which obviously might indicate that we have to wait a month now for the next major update to come out. So it looks like the game is actually being held back by the time it takes to patch the game itself. And the fact that bug fixes are nothing more than a bug fix and can't have a way to patch the game is something that is quite important to fix, and it seems to be what Matt said they are working on fixing and ideally want to fix themselves. Additionally, the time it takes to upload a patch, a bug fix or something like that is currently smaller and quicker to upload, but a major update takes a lot longer to upload as well, which obviously is one of the bottlenecks which Matt has mentioned, and is something that they want to fix, because bigger updates take a lot of time to compile, which means they take longer to come out, and obviously he wants it so there are quicker updates. Now, there was also discussion about the fact that obviously Path of Titans is a live game and requires live game support, and this is one of the biggest regrets that Matt seems to have while developing the game, because he was asked about what the biggest regret or one of the biggest lessons he's learned from developing the game, and he said, to have built the live team structure to support the game properly before the game came out, as currently it's building train tracks while you're going down them. This ultimately means that they are working on patches and balance instead of supporting the live game, or instead of doing both. He outlined that the idea is to build teams to separate the workload, to work on both sides of this and work in conjunction to each other, but to ensure that both of them get effectively dealt with. Meaning that they don't slow patch development while fixing the live game with bug fixes or server patches. He ultimately mentioned what happened with Overwatch 2, because when that released, the developers of the game ultimately then just went to supporting the live game, patching bugs and all that, instead of releasing new content, which led to the game going into the very sorry state that it is in now. Ultimately though, he also mentioned that they want to hire more people to help with balance, as a lot of the game's development team balances multiple jobs as well. For example, he said from balance, dinosaur making, level design, all of that at the same time, which, like I said, creates bottlenecks. Matt also talked about balance as well, rather briefly, so to say, trying to tie into the fact that balance is also something that is always being worked on, and people across the team are working on balance along with other stuff. He did say this: if we improve the curve overrides to change balance info, we can enable community servers to change more balance options, and people can do some takes where they do a whole game rebalance, and we can find something that a lot of people like from it. However, he did say to bear in mind that everyone has a different opinion on balance. Not everybody will like the same thing, and it's the same when it comes to realism. Not everyone agrees with realism, or the same idea on realism. What the devs might do to balance something, or something that someone does to balance something, is something that you might not agree with. So there's always that loop of, oh, this has been balanced, but I don't like it, and I don't think it's balanced how I like it, kind of thing, which obviously makes it more difficult when you put balance to a public opinion, because as much as everybody wants to help balance the game, we all have different opinions, which then could make a lengthier and harder process, which is why at the moment I don't think that is the case that they're doing. But they did say they want to be able to work with that, allow people to do balance on their own, and then see what people like the most. And that's kind of where he got with balance, and that was all that was mentioned there. But it's quite nice to talk about. That's pretty much everything that was said. There was a little bit more about other stuff, but it was kind of small stuff at the end of the day. It was quite interesting. It does indicate that there are stuff coming. In fact, a hotfix came out today, on Thursday, while I'm making this video, which actually outlined some cool stuff, especially for server owners, which looked really neat. But yeah, let me know your thoughts about all this stuff in the comments down below. I'd love to know what you think. And yeah, that's some stuff about the game's development. We got some nice insight from the lead developer, or one of the lead developers for the game. And he did mention, by the way, the Path of Titans podcast, the podcast, could be returning. He said he's bought a new mic for it, and he's trying to convince Jiggy to do them as well. So there we have it. We could be seeing a Path of Titans podcast returning, which I know I've left it to the very last second of the video to say, but if you're watching the video right now, are you excited for the return of the podcast? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, that is all that.